In 3 words I can sum up everything I've learned about life, it goes on. We love the things we love for what they are. Never be bullied into silence, never allow yourself to be made a victim, accept no one's definition of your life, define yourself. No tears in the writer. No tears in the reader. No surprise in the writer, no surprise in the reader. A poem begins as a lump in the throat, a sense of wrong, a homesickness, a lovesickness. Love is an irresistible desire to be irresistibly desired. Education is the ability to listen to almost anything without losing your temper or your self-confidence. Forgive, O Lord, my little jokes on thee, and I'll forgive thy great big one on me. If we couldn't laugh we would all go insane. Freedom lies in being bold. The best way out is always through. Poetry is what gets lost in translation. Half the world is composed of people who have something to say and can't, and the other half who have nothing to say and keep on saying it. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. I am not a teacher, but an awakener. Happiness makes up in height for what it lacks in length. Home is the place where, when you have to go there, they have to take you in. Don't ever take a fence down until you know why it was put up. Forgive me my nonsense as I also forgive the nonsense of those who think they talk sense. I'm not confused, I'm just well mixed. A diplomat is a man who always remembers a woman's birthday but never remembers her age. To be a poet is a condition, not a profession. There are 2 kinds of teachers, the kind that fill you with so much quail shot that you can't move. And the kind that just gives you a little prod behind and you jump to the skies. I hold it to be the inalienable right of anybody to go to hell in his own way. The afternoon knows what the morning never suspected. Poetry is when an emotion has found its thought and the thought has found words. How many things have to happen to you before something occurs to you? There is one thing more exasperating than a wife who can cook and won't, and that's a wife who can't cook and will. We ran as if to meet the moon. A mother takes 20 years to make a man of her boy, and another woman makes a fool of him in 20 minutes. How many things would you attempt, if you knew you could not fail? We dance round in a ring and suppose. But the secret sits in the middle and knows. The reason why worry kills more people than work is that more people worry than work. Something we were withholding made us weak, until we found it was ourselves. A jury consists of 12 persons chosen to decide who has the better lawyer. The world is full of willing people, some willing to work, the rest willing to let them. Thinking is not to agree or disagree, that's voting. The brain is a wonderful organ. It starts working the moment you get up in the morning and does not stop until you get into the office. And were an epitaph to be my story, I'd have a short one ready for my own. I would have written of me on my stone, I had a lover's quarrel with the world. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out. The middle of the road is where the white line is, and that's the worst place to drive. Unless you are educated in metaphor, you are not safe to be let loose in the world. I believe in teaching. But I don't believe in going to school. By faithfully working 8 hours a day you may eventually get to be boss and work 12 hours a day. Oh, come forth into the storm and rout, and be my love in the rain. I am a writer of books in retrospect. I talk in order to understand, I teach in order to learn. A liberal is a man too broad-minded to take his own side in a quarrel. Families break up when they get hints you don't intend and miss hints that you do. A person will sometimes devote all his life to the development of one part of his body, the wishbone. Come over the hills and far with me, and be my love in the rain. A civilized society is one which tolerates eccentricity to the point of doubtful sanity. Anything more than the truth would be too much. A bank is a place where they lend you an umbrella in fair weather and ask for it back when it begins to rain. Good fences make good neighbors. You've got to love what's lovable and hate what's hateable. It takes brains to see the difference. Every poem is a momentary stay against the confusion of the world. What we live by we die by. A poem begins in delight and ends in wisdom. Poetry is a way of taking life by the throat. Most of the change we think we see in life is due to truths being in and out of favor. Education doesn't change life much, it just lifts trouble to a higher plane of regard. My goal in life is to unite my avocation with my vocation. As my two eyes make one in sight. Hope is not found in a way out but a way through. Writing free verse is like playing tennis with the net down. It looked as if a night of dark intent was coming, and not only a night, an age, someone had better be prepared for rage. The hurt is not enough, I long for weight and strength, to feel the earth as rough to all my length. So was I once myself a swinger of birches, and so I dream of going back to be. Being the boss anywhere is lonely, being a female boss in a world of mostly men is especially so. You, of course, are a rose but were always a rose. For I have had too much, of apple picking, I am overtired, of the great harvest I myself desired. A poet never takes notes, you never take notes in a love affair. He says the best way out is always through. And I can agree to that, or in so far slashes that I can see no way out but through. When I was young, I was so interested in baseball that my family was afraid I'd waste my life and be a pitcher. Later they were afraid I'd waste my life and be a poet, they were right. For dear me, why abandon a belief? Merely because it ceases to be true. What is done for the love of it or not really done at all. The worst disease which can afflict executives in their work is not, as popularly supposed, alcoholism, it's egotism. I dwell in a lonely house I know, that vanished many a summer ago. Nobody was ever meant to remember or invent what he did with every cent. Our very life depends on everything's recurring till we answer from within. I dwell with a strangely aching heart, in that vanished abode there far apart. Life must be kept up at a great rate in order to absorb any considerable amount of learning. Earth's the right place for love, I don't know where it's likely to go better. Talking is a hydrant in the yard and writing is a faucet upstairs in the house, opening the first takes all the pressure off the second. I am one who has been acquainted with the night. To be social is to be forgiving. There never was any heart truly great and generous that was not also tender and compassionate. I never dared be radical when young for fear it would make me conservative when old. He asked with the eyes more than the lips for a shelter for the night. The question that he frames in all but words is what to make of a diminished thing. A breeze discovered my open book and began to flutter the leaves to look. So I took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. You can be a little ungrammatical if you come from the right part of the country. What but design of darkness to appall, if design govern in a thing so small? Weep for what little things could make them glad. Two such as you with such a master speed, cannot be parted nor be swept away. The line storm clouds fly tattered and swift, the road is forlorn all day. No, this is no beginning, then an end. End is a gloomy word. An idea is a feat of association, and the height of it is a good metaphor. I had a lover's quarrel with the world. We saw the risk we took in doing well, but dared not spare to do the best we could. I often say of George Washington that he was one of the few in the whole history of the world who was not carried away by power. New is a word for fools in towns who think style upon style in dress and thought at last must get somewhere. Modern poets talk against business. Poor things, but all of us write for money. Beginners are subjected to trial by market. I'd like to get away from earth a while and then come back to it and begin over. We shall be known by the delicacy of where we stop short. I have never started a poem yet whose end I knew. Writing a poem is discovering. Men work together, I told him from the heart, whether they work together or apart. Holding the curve of one position, counting an endless repetition. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. Originality and initiative are what I ask for my country. A man must partly give up being a man with women folk. He studied Latin like the violin, because he liked it. Space ails US moderns, we are sick with space. Come, be my love in the wet woods, come. Where the boughs rain when it blows. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. The heart's gone out of it, why keep it up? My definition of literature would be just this, words that have become deeds. Easy does it. All the fun's in how you say a thing. Working faithfully 8 hours a day, you may eventually get to be the boss and work 12 hours a day. He is all pine and I am apple orchard. but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. The fact is the sweetest dream that labor knows. The ear is the only writer and the only true reader. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. I could say elves to him, but it's not elves exactly, and I'd rather he said it for himself. Nature is cruel, it's man who's as sick of blood, and man doesn't seem so very sick of it. It is far better for a man to go wrong in freedom than to go right in chains, my sorrow, when she's here with me. Thinks these dark days of autumn rain are beautiful as days can be. The figure a poem makes, it begins in delight and ends in wisdom. Why abandon a belief, merely because it ceases to be true? Something there is that doesn't love a wall that sends the frozen ground swell under it. I have a mind myself and recognize mind when I meet with it in any guise. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. Who would you be, I wonder? By those marks if I had moths to friend as I have flowers? All thought is a feat of association. You don't have to deserve your mother's love, you have to deserve your father's. Nothing gold can stay. We go to school to learn what books to read for the rest of our lives. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. So dawn goes down today, nothing gold can stay. As that I can see no way out but through. Nothing can make injustice just but mercy. I'm glad of any political freedom they give me, but what I'm interested in is not political freedom, I'm interested in the liberties I take. This country is a very broad pan to be only human nature deep. Nature's first green is gold. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. In 3 words I can sum up everything I make a virtue of my suffering from nearly everything that goes on round me. In other words, I know wherever I am. Being the creature of literature I am, I shall not lack for pain to keep me awake. Yes, when it's not our death. You make that sound as if it wasn't so with everything, what we live by we die by. You can't get too much winter in the winter. I have walked out in rain and back in rain, I have outwalked the furthest city light. The only way out is through. How many things have to happen to you before something occurs to you? The most beautiful campus that ever there was. I may as well confess myself the author of several books against the world in general.